All right, February 13th, it is World Radio Day. Karibu sana, this is a Morning Cafe. My name is Freddy Ndimuli.
My name is Ann Odida, karibu sana, and we're celebrating World Radio Day, and it's also International Condom Day.
Okay.
Yes.
So which one are you celebrating?
Both, you know, both. If you've done radio, okay, I've done radio, so, you know, and tomorrow is also Valentine's, so a little bit of both.
The studio, I can tell you, sections of this studio have already turned color. There's a lot of red all over. Yes, it is also 2 days to the AUC chairperson's elections. A lot of activity happening in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. We'll be telling you more about that.
Yes.
A quick look at the dailies today. We start off with the most interesting. Wanasema under siege. Under siege. That's a Daily Nation. Under siege. Nani wako under siege? Papa wa Roma sura yake kupale. And then People Daily explains exactly.
Why they die is cast for Wetangula.
Oh yes. Trouble. Pandeole. On the Star, they talk about fraudsters, a man and his wife on the front page, as well as a Speaker of the National Assembly there. Those are the two big stories this morning.
Same story, the Star, Waititu wife guilty as DPP nails them in 588 million shillings case.
Now, the Star, you know, Star why create at any anticipation. They tell you the full story on, in one sentence.
Like the regional newspapers.
Once you read that, there's nothing else you need to read.
Have everything. Business Daily, motorists face new vehicle insurance congestion taxes.
Meaning that the cost of insurance will go up. All right. Na kwenye gazeti la Taifa Leo anasema speaker mkaidi kwenye kurasa wa mbele. All right. So we'll be taking a look at those local dailies with this panel this morning starting at 6:30. Wilson Sosion, former SG in National Union of Teachers. David Kiplagat, this is the MP of Soi. Dr. Peter Mbai, leadership and governance expert, and Wakili Ishmael Nyaribo. These are the gentlemen who will be helping us understand the headlines this morning.
It's World Radio Day. We'll be having Victor Bwire, that is the Director, Media Training and Development at the Media Council of Kenya. And we are also honoring the legendary Leonard Mambo Mbotela today.
World Radio Day. After that,
it's also International Condom Day, like I'd mentioned earlier, and we'll be talking to these three ladies on youth, sex, and society, breaking the silence on sexuality.
I tell you, from 9 to 10, you don't want to miss that conversation.
Absolutely.
All right. We also have leo jamaa wetu wa PNG ametufanyia kazi nzuri sana. Asante sana Bwana Inonda. Watu wa Manu lakini timu hafifu lakini kazi yake nzuri.
Kabisa.
So some of the, you can see, generally, these are the discussions. So we start off in Uganda, and in Uganda, they're talking about matters education. Yesterday, we were looking at results from the O-level.
Yeah.
So now they're moving to A-level, senior 5. Wamemaliza form 4. Walifanya ile, the equivalent of our KCSE.
Yeah.
So now they're moving to the next level. So they're talking about how senior 5 selection will be conducted. And images of some people who did well in the O-level exams, also on the front page today. The CDF, Chief of Defense Forces in Uganda, Muhoozi Kainerugaba, is there. Hapo juu anasema Muhoozi hails Uganda-USA relations. Sababu sasa mambo imegeuka. Ile ya Democrat hawakuwa na hail, sasa na hail. Pale chini, new power station to boost business in Kigezi, and we have a picture there of President Yoweri Museveni and some engineers as they look at that new power station in Kigezi. Still in Uganda, we take a look at the Daily Monitor.
Still matters education, senior 5 selection headache. New grading, a number of head teachers do not have a definite criteria they will use to select candidates for A-level in a week's time. Now, the UNEB Executive Director, Dan Odongo, says if you look at the current UACE grading, it also goes from A to E and O, and we also carry our selection using those grades. So the template, if I may say, with some modification that we used for placement for UACE, what is that in full? Will be used for the selection in
Uganda Advanced Certificate Education. Ooh. I think that's my guess.
All right. Now, and we see photos of, I think, the senior 5.
These are the ones that passed the top performers in the O level who are now transiting to senior 5. Yes.
All right. Kule chini Uganda Farmer Healthcare 2025. That is Matters Uganda there. There shows, will EC pull off the 3.6 million target in 7 days? This is
the Electoral Commission in Uganda. Remember, they are planning their general elections for 2026.
Yeah.
This year, the elections will be in Tanzania. Magazeti yao hata yaonyeshi siasa. In Uganda, next year, kuna elections iko hapa kando. Kadogo tu, because they're hoping to register at least 3.6 million voters within the next few days, the next 1 week. So the question is whether the Electoral Commission will be able to carry that job.
That's the Daily Monitor.
All right. We cross over into na leo tumepelekwa hadi Zanzibar.
Zanzibari leo.
Hatujazangazia masuala ya kule Zanzibari. Wanasema Zanzibari bado inahitaji wawekezaji. Daktari Mwinyi, huyo ni rais wa Zanzibar. Gazeti la Zanzibar leo.
Na wanasema kule chini commissioner hiyo ni Zanzibari.
It's the equivalent of the KRA.
Okay. ZRA. Commissioner ZRA apishwa, ataja mikakati ukusanyaji kodi. Hapo pia wanataka kuchukuliwa taxes kweli kweli. Waziri ataka haki itendeke kwa aliyepigwa visu na mke mwenziwe.
Kwenye ukurasa wa mbele kule Zanzibar.
Wahindu zaidi ya milioni 10 wamiminika kufanya ibada mtoni. Habari hiyo katika ukurasa wa 8 wa Zanzibari leo.
Tukisalia kule Bongo, tuangazie gazeti la Mwananchi kule Tanganyika. Sema vuguvugu la mabadiliko, masuala ya siasa. Chadema yatangaza msimamo wake kuelekea uchaguzi mkuu wa mwaka huu. Lissu afungua milango kwa wanachama wapya, aomba michango kuendesha mapambano. Wasira Heche wazidi kutifuana. Ni masuala ya chama cha upinzani kule Tanzania, Chadema. At least now you can see that they are beginning to get a bit political. The headlines are now focusing on preparations towards the next election. It is rare to see these kind of crowds, campaign crowds in Tanzania. But yes.
Uganda wamelala bado.
Uganda hata wazungumzi hiyo waliambiwa it's not an election year, don't try.
All right. Uzembe, dosari za usanifu zaleta hasara ya mabilioni. All right. Kule kando, watumishi wa MDH la wakuta jambo, and this is in regards to Matters Trump, ambao wameenda 90 days leave bila malipo. But what is MDH? Sisi tunaangazia USAID sana, the workers of USAID ambao wameenda the 90-day compulsory and paid leave.
Ukitaka kujua mengi, ingia kwenye ukurasa wa 3 wa gazeti hili la Mwananchi. Utaelewa wamefinywa wapi. Tukisalia kule Tanzania, on the Citizen, way forward as EU-US shake-up aid policies. Same story as the one on the front page of the Mwananchi. Tanzanian experts and civil society stakeholders have suggested ways of sustaining critical financing in the wake of the European Union and the US reviewing their foreign aid programs, rather. So the main story is on page 2, but they say venture capital experts has urged civil society organizations to change their operating models from from grant merchants to social something there that I can't really see. But definitely they're just reorganizing because of how aid is going to come their way. It's not that just the US, even the European Union is re-looking at its aid for Africa.
All right, factors that drove insurance growth in 2024 in Tanzania. Impressive growth has been attributed to market expansion and the introduction of diverse insurance products, among other drivers, with a new report revealing that out of 30 non-life insurance companies, only 3 experienced a decline in performance. That story is on page 3 of The Citizen.
Another positive story there on the top strip of The Citizen. Tanzania set to increase meat exports to lucrative Saudi Arabian market. Indo mliambao mkubali chanjo ya ng'ombe mkakataa.
Tanzania ndio hao.
Tanzania maybe walichanja ng'ombe zao. So this is a Citizen. These are just some of the regional papers. So generally we understand what they're looking at. And as far as Tanzania is concerned, they're talking about preparing for the aid changes from foreign donors, and a bit of politics. In Uganda, mostly education. Let's come back home and take a look at the weather situation before tuangazie magazeti. So we start off with the hotter sides, and this is Lamu. Way hotter than most areas, 26 degrees Celsius as we speak, feels like 29. And this is at 6 a.m. We can imagine Joto at 29 degrees Celsius.
Yeah.
But it promises to even get hotter to 31 degrees Celsius. Sunny throughout the day, a bit of cloud cover, a bit negligible, 0 millimeters in as far as precipitation is concerned. The other hot area is Moyale.
Moyale, 21 degrees, feels like it. Highs of 33 degrees. Cloud cover throughout the day, and it will be sunny. Precipitation, 0 millimeters. No chances of rain in Moyale. Let's
cross over to the relatively cooler areas of the country. We start off in Nyahururu, where it is 12 degrees Celsius as we speak. Well, it is a relatively hot day for Nyahururu, highs of 22 degrees Celsius. That's the highest they're going to experience.
Comfortable.
22 degrees at Lamu, hakuna mahali wana come close. Currently it's 26. But in Nyahururu, this is the highest they're going to get.
Yes.
Sunny throughout the day, a bit of cloud cover, no chance of rain there. The other cold area is Limuru.
Limuru, 13 degrees, promises to be warmer in the next 3 days. Highs of 21 degrees, cloud cover throughout the day. Promises to be sunny as well. Precipitation, 0 millimeters.
All right. And that's way closer to Nairobi, but let's take a look at Nairobi and see. 16 degrees Celsius, feels like 16, yes. Warming expected over the next 3 days. Promises to be a bit cloudy, especially in the morning, but it will get warmer, highs of 24 degrees Celsius. So relatively cool weather in Nairobi today. Chances of rain are minimal. So that's the weather situation. What about traffic?
All right.
Kuna mtu aliguza hii map yangu ikamove kidogo. Ule jamaa wa PNG unajua alikuwa amekuja hapa.
Wacha tumsamehe.
Unaleta shida sometimes. Unajua haelewi hizi vitu vile zinafanya kazi. Aha, so this is a general map of Nairobi. You can tell Jogoo Road is building up slowly. Areas around Makadara as you head towards town. That's where you can see some red and a bit of red just before you get to the St. Stephen Jogoo Road roundabout. After that, it's green all the way. A bit of red opposite Machakos bus station. Kidogo tu maybe kuna basi imesimama hapo ama imetoboka mguu lakini itatengenezwa. Then you get into town. Haile Selassie Avenue around Marikiti area, both ways going into town and outwards. It's building up slowly, a bit of yellow there, not yet red, so nothing to worry about. Of course, ile kawaida hapa kuna kuanga na shida. Pangani interchange, it's building up. Further up on Thika Road, it's building up areas around Githurai. After you leave Githurai, just before you get to Kasarani, there's a long stretch of yellow, so could be matatus there as well. On the eastern part of the city, areas around Kangundo Road, it's getting very busy as you get closer towards the Outer Ring Road. So you can see areas around Mama Lucy Hospital as you get closer there. Even in Kayole, lakini hapa ni matatu zimejaa kweli kweli. Yes. So that's the traffic situation, nothing much to worry about this morning. But there's a problem here. You see, if you're using the Eastern Bypass just before you get to Cabanas, there's a long stretch of yellow and a bit of red. Also matatus just stopping on the road to pick up passengers. So that's the traffic situation this morning. We may get a chance to come back later and take a look at it, probably at 1:30.
All right, let's take a look at the quote of the day.
Don't let doubt be the loudest voice in your mind. Instead, amplify your belief in yourself. You've overcome obstacles before, and you have what it takes to conquer whatever comes next.
Right, Under Siege is a big headline on the front page of the Daily Nation, a screaming headline there, and a face there of a very rather worried looking Speaker of the National Assembly. Anafikiria mawazo, anasema mawazo yamemfanya nini? Anabubujikwa na mawazo. Asema a fallout over a court judgment that declared opposition chief Raila Odinga's Azimio coalition as a majority party in the National Assembly has revived a push to oust Speaker Moses Wetangula. Unhappy with the former Bungoma senator's ruling, reinstating President William Ruto's Kenya Kwanza alliance as the majority side. Opposition MPs yesterday staged a walkout and vowed to impeach him in a move that adds to the Ford Kenya leaders' political wars. Hey, and I'm struggling to read that.
Who wants Wetangula's seat? That's the question they're asking there.
And you know there's been rumors about his possible ouster. This has been for quite some time now.
Yeah.
Now, this is the first real threat to his position as Speaker. Remember, on one hand, yes, Azimio side, they don't like him much because of what he has said. But even the guys in UDA and within Kenya Kwanza, because there's always been a push for these parties to dissolve and merge and form one big UDA party. He has refused. So even him, he's in trouble from his own boss, President William Ruto. So, Jamaa, ako andasiege kweli. Wetangula, who remains Ford Kenya leader against the law, has shunned UDA merger. Hiyo ni shida pale. Pale juu.
MPs Gerard to watch Raila AU vote.
So leo kutakuwa na shida ya quorum kwa nyumba because everyone is in Addis Ababa.
Yes.
So they say a number of governors, quite a number of governors and MPs, even senators, have flocked to Addis Ababa 2 days ahead of the election of the AUC chairperson. Now the question is, will this trip be funded by the taxpayer? Yes. So many people have decided to go to Addis Ababa. Of course, the CS for Foreign Affairs, Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi and his team have been there for weeks. That's a big story also.
Right.
Hapa kuna moja, Waititu and wife face long jail terms over graft. Former Kiambu Governor Ferdinand Waititu and his wife Susan Wangare are staring at a lengthy jail term of up to 10 years each for receiving kickbacks from a contractor for a 588 million shilling road construction tender. That story is on page 10. They will be appearing in court today for sentencing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Baba yao.
Baba yao. All right. More stories about Aga Khan the Fourth. They say Aga Khan the Fourth left an indelible mark. MPs yesterday took time to actually pay tribute to Aga Khan, who died last week and was buried this week in Egypt. Matters economic, Kenyans moving to cheaper schools and houses in hard times. Mambo imekuwa ngumu. A growing number of Kenyans are now moving their children to cheaper schools, shifting to cheaper houses, and switching to cheaper brands and phones amid tough economic times. That story is on page 29 of the Daily Nation.
The Standard fraudsters, of course, graft fight. After 5 years of a legal defense in a case, former Kiambu Governor Ferdinand Waititu, his wife and 3 others were charged with getting money from a 588 million shillings tender. They have been found guilty. And going by precedents, they will spend a long time in jail or pay fines so hefty they'll regret getting into the arrangement.
Well, standard feature.
All right. The chief, I don't know who this is, but he says, I have no doubt that the prosecution has established the Testimony Enterprises Limited won the tender in question by deceit and procurement fraud. And this case began in 2018. When fraudulent tender worth 588 million shillings was what? Let me just get that here. Here it is. Because hapo kidogo
EPNG kuna vile
iko na mambo. It was just here. Okay, here it is. Let's get that. Testimony Enterprise Limited. It involved upgrading of several roads in Kiambu County, and we see the co-accused there, Charles Shegembuthia, that is a businessman, and Luka Mwangi Wahinya, former chief officer, Kiambu County. Other top stories there, we see a photo of Speaker Moses Wetangula, and we'll send you home, Azimio tells Speaker. Now, Azimio coalition is impeaching the Speaker after he overturned a court decision that declared them the majority in the National Assembly, a decision they did not contest. Junet alisema it will be messy, it will be smelly, and there will be casualties.
There will be casualties. Will Bosses Wetangula be the first casualty?
Okay, we shall see. Other top stories there. This is what awaits you. Faki tells AU winner, that is the Africa Union, AUC, right? Elections, Zico.
So this is the current chairperson of the AUC, is
Yes.
called the Faki Mahamat. So it's anawaambia ile kazi iko hapa ni namna hii. Yes, ukipata.
Season of love it is. It is a season of love, and a quick back to that story is on page 13. Valentine's ni kesho. Working class but living on side hustles.
It's a very interesting story, yes, that many Kenyans now are surviving purely through side hustles
yeah.
because their basic pay pay slip ilifinywa.
Ilifinywa.
So the only way is for you to get a side hustle.
Yeah.
Yeah, working class.
Now, phone ban pushes many to play areas. Phone ban, all right, that is, all right.
In the international scene.
Okay, and that's the Standard.
All right. We'll move on to the Star. A very long headline there. Waititu, wife guilty as DPP nails them in 500 in Mrefu. You have all the details there. If I read this, I don't need to buy the paper. Anyway. Waititu and wife guilty as DPP nails them in 588 million shilling case. Babayao's fate awaits corrupt governors. Now this, if it goes through, if they actually get convicted, governors pia wanafaa wengine wanafaa watch, because it could happen to them as well. Another picture there of the former Kiambu governor, Ferdinand Waititu, and his wife riding in a police vehicle when they were picked up yesterday. They spent the night in custody as they await their sentencing today.
Yes. Now, Weta stares at removal as Azimio protest majority ruling. And the National Assembly Speaker, Moses Wetangula, is now staring at impeachment, of course, following his declaration of Kenya Kwanza as the majority party amid protest from the minority side. And led by Junet Mohammed, opposition MPs walked out yesterday protesting the ruling and threatening to paralyze Parliament by withdrawing from the all-important House Business Committee. This is the first time President Ruto's Kenya Kwanza is clashing with the Raila Odinga's Azimio la Umoja, and that is after the broad-based government was formed. All right.
Question is, depending on the results of the AUC election, where hii inaweza haribika
Mbaya sana. Kutawaka, kutanuka sana.
katawaka. All right. Nairobi's once famous estates are now slums, history erased. That's a very interesting story there.
Yeah.
They say Kaloleni Estate on Jogoo Road, nowadays popularly known as Ololo, was once a house of notables. From independence hero Tom Mboya, first Vice President Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, to former Ugandan President Milton Obote, who was the boss of the Residents Association, the neighborhood was as revered as today's Runda or Karen. It was also the home of Barack Obama Sr., the father of former US President Barack Obama, upon returning from studies abroad. But now it has turned into a slum. It's a very interesting story. Sikia ilikuanga high class sana siku zake.
All right. Okay. That's the Star.
That's a Star.
Business Daily, motorists face new vehicle insurance congestion taxes, and this is after the Ministry of Transport disclosed. Okay, let me take a look at that here. Leo huyo mtu amelala. The Ministry of Transport disclosed the plan to reintroduce car insurance premium tax and congestion levy in a national tolling policy published on Tuesday this week, marking a return of the revenue-raising measures that were shelved last year amid youth-led street protest against the Finance Bill 2024. Unaona, the same thing that, okay, one of the things that led to that protest is being revived here again. We see
a lot of those provisions in the finance bill that was rejected last year have made a comeback through specific tax amendment bills.
Yeah.
And now we're seeing even zile zilikuwa zimeachwa making a comeback as well.
Sneaking, eh? Okay, levies. Gen Zs are awake. Remember that. Okay, top banks step up interest rate cuts amid CBK pressure. And the top bank is scrambling to cut lending rates days after CBK warned of daily fines as punishment for failure to lower the cost of loans for individuals and businesses. On the ticker, Kenya's food import bill drops by 12%. Tycoons share transfer blocked in ARM debt row. And on the top strip, while devolution has achieved notable success in improving governance, service delivery remains a significant challenge. That story is on page 9.
That's a quote, they're quoting a former PS,
Bitangendemo.
Right. That's a Business Daily. Spika mkaidi ndio habari kuu kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa gazeti la Taifa Leo. Wanasema majaji wa mahakama kuu waamua Azimio ndio ina wabunge wengi. Spika asema la. So spika wa bunge la kitaifa Moses Wetangula jana alionekana kukaidi agizo la mahakama kwa kusisitiza kuwa mrengo wa Kenya Kwanza ndio walio wengi katika bunge la kitaifa. Habari kamili kwenye ukurasa wa pili, na sasa tunaona kwamba uamuzi huo wa spika utaelekea probably kwake kung'atuliwa kama spika wa bunge. Kwingineko, Kira futa mkuu mpya wa usalama. Rais wa South Sudan, Sudan Kusini, amfanya rafiki yake makamu kama njia ya kumwandaa amrithi. Kwingineko, alialikwa na mpenzi afa kikatili. Familia moja Kirinyaga yaomboleza kifo cha mwanao anayeaminika kuuawa na mpenziwe. Another sad story of love turned sour. Wakenya wageukia vitu vya bei ya jioni. Habari nyingine kwenye ukurasa wa mbele hapa, lakini habari kamili kwenye ukurasa wa 3. Wanasema Wakenya wengi wapeleka watoto wao shule za bei nafuu na kuhamia nyumba nafuu. Mambo imekuwa ngumu. Habari ya baba yao iko pale kwenye ukurasa wa mbele pia. Pale juu anasema baba yao ajipata pabaya mahakamani. Aliyekuwa gavana wa Kiambu Ferdinand Waititu apatikana na hatia kwenye kesi ya ufisadi na atakuwa kotini leo kuambiwa ataenda jela miaka ngapi. Tukimalizia ni People Daily.
Why the die is cast for Wetangula. And of course, tumesema hapo Azimio leaders have threatened impeachment and to also just boycott very important house matters there. So why the die is cast for Wetangula, amekataa pia kutoka hapo Ford Kenya and to rule over whether he will remain the speaker or the leader of Ford Kenya.
All right.
We'll see.
So the biggest discussions around, you can actually tell, the issue of Parliament and the position of the Speaker. AU elections, Mudavadi says Kenya is confident Raila will win Africa job, and also what's happening to Ferdinand Waititu, how DPP pinned Waititu. So those are the 3 main discussions this morning. Pale juu kuna private universities give proposals on education funding, which has been a big discussion as well. And you can see some of the proposals coming from Professor Gisharu of the Mount Kenya University.
Absolutely.
Let's take a look at the cartoons this morning. We start off with the People Daily. Tuna jamaa caricature of 2 gentlemen, moja amekalia mwingine kwa mabega. Kuna moja hapa anasema baba for AU. So interesting. So the former Prime Minister is sitting on Musalia Mudavadi's shoulders and he's saying, Tialala, Tibim, Ria. If they steal our votes this time, we will march to State House. Alafu jamaa anamuuliza, excuse me, which election are you referring to?
We have to win. Musalia Mudavadi.
Huku Addis Ababa waelewi Tibim.
This is the one for the Star.
Daily Nation. The Star. This is the Star.
This is the Star. In State House. See you. Is it State House of
you remember when Azimio were planning, already planning and rolling out the red carpet in preparation for Raila Odinga's win. It would appear they're doing something similar.
Okay.
That all the MPs are so excited about Raila Odinga's success in Addis Ababa. They're still not sure. It could go either way. But you've seen the number of people who've actually gone to Addis Ababa.
Yes.
Enough MPs and governors wameacha kazi zao wameenda Addis Ababa ahead of the elections. Will it go the same way as Azimio's plans went? That's a question.
Saturday.
The Standard.
This is the National Assembly now.
Yes.
And there are voices there quoted. They say, Mr. Speaker, Azimio is now on the biggest seats of the majority. Others saying, Mr. Speaker, Kenya Kwanza is the government and we are the majority. Right? Tower of Babel, this one.
Wanaanza kukosana. Alafu
there's like a mama that is saying, I wish they fought for my needs with the same spirit.
Oh yes. You saw how they behaved during the impeachment of the deputy president. Now, when they're arguing about their own issues to do majority and minority, sema, I wish wangekuwa nafanya kazi hivyo properly. Finally, this is the Daily Nation, talking about the same thing in Addis Ababa, the AU elections. So these are caricatures of the same person but in different stances. Moja ashapata baba AUC secretary atakuhuku ashashinda, anafanya kazi, anapiga tu masimu, anasema Afrika lazima ikuwe sawa. Upande huu mwingine is very fire na is just breathing fire. Like a dragon and scaring someone huko mwenye amejificha. Hapa katikati ndo anasema stand by, just in case. If it doesn't go this way, it will go this way. That's a cartoon on the Daily Nation. So it is indeed a big discussion. What is happening in the AU in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia? AUC elections for chairperson coming up on Saturday this week.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
We have a lot of discussions as well. Fred, what are you talking about today?
Today?
Who are your guests?
All right. Nisaidia na hiyo picha ya my guest this morning. I reintroduced them once again.
Akitayarisha yake from 8 a.m. rather. Bobby, all right. There, the State of the Nation, there we have it.
Yes. Wilson Sosion, Mwalimu Wilson Sosion, former SG, Kenya National Union of Teachers, will be in studio with us alongside David Kiplagat, MP Soy, Dr. Peter Mbai, who's a leadership and governance expert, as well as Wakili Ishmael Nyaribo. Do stand by for that after the break.
It's World Radio Day. We'll be speaking to Victor Bwire, the Director of Media Training and Development at the Media Council of Kenya. And later on, we'll be talking matters sexuality. It's International Condom Day, and we'll be having these three ladies to talk about that. Interact with us on our social media platforms, TV47 Kenya on Facebook and YouTube, TV47 News KE on X. My handle is at Ann_Dida. The hashtag is Morning Cafe.
My X handle is at Fred Indemuli.
Stay with us.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth, as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water?
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can pay at least every 3 years. Somebody should have a pap smear done.
If you are 40, 45, 50 going upwards, once a year, please go see a doctor. Yeah, it's just for normal routine maintenance.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwa watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why. You
After a long day of waiting to know who reigns as the majority in the National Assembly, finally Speaker Wetangula has upheld Kenya Kwanza Brigade as the majority as per the October 6, 2022 ruling, which established this.
Foregoing, the Kenya Kwanza coalition is the majority party, and the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition party is the minority party in the House.
In his ruling on implications of the court decision on the House proceedings, the Speaker cited the post-election agreements filed by the Registrar of Political Parties as a key factor in determining the majority status. Wetangula says as of today, Kenya Kwanza has 165 members, while Azimio has 154. Thus, the status quo remains in the House leadership as well as committees.
I still have a little more to go. I have not received any further communication from the Kenya Kwanza coalition replacing the member for Kikuyu, the member for Kilifi, the member for South Mugirango, and the member for Marsabit County as their preferred leadership in the House. Similarly, I have not received any communication from the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition party replacing the member for Suna East, the member for Kadiani, the member for Suba North, and the member for Embakasi West as their preferred leadership in the House.
However, the mover of the motion, Minority Whip and Suba South MP Millie Odhiambo, categorically stated of respecting the ruling, but with reservations which will form the basis of the next course of action.
Ngamatek is the strong man. You are stepping on my mother's toe. But I will respectfully tell you, Mr. Speaker, that I don't agree with you as a strong man, that you are stepping on my mother's toe. And as Azimio, we are going to take further action.
The Azimio Brigade vehemently opposed the Speaker's ruling, indicating that would soon head to courts, with Minority Leader Junet Mohammed stating it will not only be messy and noisy, but smelly as well.
This is not the end. We have withdrawn our members from the House Business Committee, and that's not the end.
Let us respect court orders. Court orders are not supposed to be debated and a question put in the House on court orders.
It is going to be messy, it is going to be noisy, and it's going to have casualties. I promise. And we can see it is getting smelly already.
The High Court 3-judge bench noted that Speaker Wetangula contradicted the Registrar of Political Parties, whose documents showed that Azimio had majority status in the year 2022 before 14 members jumped ship to the ruling party. Elizabeth Mutuko, TV47, Nairobi.
It is going to be messy and it will definitely have casualties. If you look at the dailies this morning, it seemed to indicate possibly who the first casualty will be. Why the die is cast for Wetangula is there on the front page of the People Daily. Under siege is a headline on the Daily Nation. Speaker Mkaidi on Taifa Leo, and on the Standard will send you home as a Miotel Speaker. This is a conversation we want to start off with this morning with my panelists, Dr. Peter Mbaye, leadership and governance expert. It's good to have you in studio.
Thank you so much. Good to have me.
Mwalimu Wilson Sosion, who served as a SG of the Great National Union of Teachers, KNUT, and also as a member of the National Assembly, also makes it to studio this morning. Karibu sana, Bwana Sosion.
Good morning.
We're also privileged to have with us this morning David Kiplagat, MP Soi constituency. Karibu sana, Bwana.
Thank you and good morning.
Yes. We expect Wakili Ishmael Nyaribo to be joining us in a short while. But before that, not many people expected this to be such a big debate, especially with the workings of the broad-based working arrangement, that not many people would compete for over who sits as majority or minority leader. But it would appear it's taking a different turn. Bwana Mbaye, did you foresee this? Is this the next natural course of action?
First, we can't say at all that it was assumed just because there is broad-based that anybody can be majority. No, it was the majority was meant to be majority. The others were supposed to play, second fiddle. Like you have come in to join us for our own purposes. So it can't be. It's not natural that now the tables turn and it's just assumed to be natural. So that's why there has to be a fight. Whatever happens, whatever the case goes, and this is where the legislators are going to say that they cannot be tied to the rulings of the High Court. So in a nutshell, it was not going to be because we are broad, anybody can be majority. Now that one has never been conceived. So, and that's why you see whatever is happening. Two things quickly. Anything around this country these days is planned. A lot of things don't just happen. I doubt whether that ruling caught everybody by surprise. Maybe. You could be seeing what you are seeing, but there's something else somewhere. Anything in this, anything you see, don't think it just came. I mean, we see what has been happening around. So the first question, did it get anybody by surprise? I doubt. Then if not so, what is the end game? With all these things happening around here, you'll expect to see a lot of things, especially in the next few days. A lot of things may not happen today and tomorrow, but from Monday, many things will happen because there could be something. I doubt whether that thing was not planned. Okay. Nothing happens from the woods. There are so many people around here getting their noses in every place. So I doubt. So the whole thing we are being treated to is not what it is. A lot of other things are going to happen here.
We're just following the script. But
yeah, there could be some whatever to allow things to happen so somebody else becomes a casualty in an organized way.
Talking about casualty, because the dailies today seem to suggest that Speaker Moses Wetangula is going to be the casualty. We know that even within the working of the UDA and Kenya Kwanza, that there has been a push for Moses Wetangula to relinquish his position as Ford Kenya party leader or even dissolve Ford Kenya and merge with UDA, the same way it happened with the ANC party. He has refused till now. That means he's at a corner, Bwana Sosion.
You know, Fred, it is not good to operate from a platform of speculation. Let us deal with truth and facts.
But everything is speculation.
And no, we don't operate on speculation. Why speculate when facts are very clear? They are here with us, standing on 4 legs, squarely. What happened yesterday, of course, was expected, because the majority is on the basis of numbers. And the understanding of pre-election agreement, post-election agreements, and political parties taking positions at different times was not brought into account by the courts. And that is why from the time that ruling was made, for me, I said this judgment is not enforceable. There are judgments that courts render which cannot be implemented. And therefore, they simply die. And I expected this one to die via the ruling of the Speaker. And the Speaker did not have to struggle to get the numbers and to know who is who and who is what, which one is majority, which one is minority. The truth is, majority in the House is determined using numbers. And those numbers can be counted, and they are physical, and they are known. So it's simple arithmetic. And so the Speaker had a very easy time determining which coalition is the majority. And I also want to correct here. We cannot imagine that a majority in Parliament must also control the executive. No, it doesn't have to be that way. And it is a very shifty, arrangement. And
but is that the natural way of working once a court pronounces itself? If you do not agree with a court's pronouncement, isn't it therefore expected that you file an appeal?
The Speaker, the Speaker and jurisdiction of Parliament and powers and privileges of Parliament, there are certain things that you may not need to superintend from the courts, like determining who is a leader and who is a majority in the House. That actually, those are powers vested in the Speaker by the standing orders and by regulations of Parliament. So that one doesn't need judicial ruling or executive guidance. Parliament is independent. It regulates itself. It is an authority.
The Parliament can simply ignore any pronouncement?
Yes, it can. Yes, it can. What is not sustainable, what is not right, it can. And the Speaker, by delivering a ruling, is exercising equivalent roles like a judge in a court. And that ruling, if you look at rulings of speakers over the years, they are normally binding, and it doesn't change. It remains.
But yet they can be challenged if at all they are declared.
No problem. Anybody can still move to court. The court will entertain all manner of applications, and it will give its ruling based on the facts that is availed before the court. But with this one, where the Speaker is given the powers to do so, and he has data with him, and the Speaker can write to the Registrar of Trade Unions, of political parties, and the political parties avail the data, and it's very clear, and we saw, and we can still check and recheck. You are not going
According to the story here,
you are not going to force. You are not going to force a majority. You are not going to force a majority that is not a majority.
It is a registrar.
In National Assembly.
Deputy Speaker.
You are not going to force a minority to be.
Let's move on to Bwana Kiplagat.
It doesn't work.
Bwana Kiplagat, this happening appear to have left the Speaker of the National Assembly in a very awkward position. Now he is facing threats of impeachment from Azimio members. His position as Speaker was also the subject of that court ruling, where they said that his continued stay as leader of Ford Kenya and as a Speaker is illegal.
Okay, may I state categorically that what you saw yesterday was just awkward and some bit of drama, just to sweeten the day. Basically, I think also from outside, you are reading too much. First, I want to state that our Speaker, Wetangula, is not under siege by whatever imaginations. His leadership at the National Assembly is solid, and I can assure you Speaker Wetangula will finish his term and there will be no drama whatsoever. And whoever tries, I think it will be just dead on arrival. So let us not, I think the media, you are reading too much. This was
we're just reporting on pronouncements by the minority side, or whichever side they say they are.
Don't worry, you know the art of negotiations. And the art of negotiations, you can either do it through the hard way, or you can do it the soft way. What the Azimio la Umoja coalition were just doing, you know, we are in the state of forming committees by virtue that some of the committees have come to an end, so they have to constitute afresh. And for whenever there is something to be shared, you know, they'll always be angling, and you push your stakes a bit higher by causing a bit of trouble when you are in opposition. So don't try to read too much. The broad-based government is solid, both at both in Parliament, so that I can include both houses, and also both in the executive. It is solid, and the drama you saw, just don't waste your papers and airtime.
We are working with us here today.
I'm trying to finish, don't worry.
Oh, okay.
So don't waste a lot of airtime trying to milk something that is dry.
Yet we cannot ignore this. We cannot ignore the happenings in the National Assembly yesterday. What are the pronouncements by the Speaker? And
you see, may I come to the court case? The court case basically is something that is, you know, sometimes you can do things that are stale in terms of time, because when they went to court, the time then, you know, our constitution allows both pre-election coalition and post-election coalition. And what the Speaker said is that in terms of determining the numbers, it is not static. We know after election, right now we are 2.5 years after elections, things have changed. And when you are doing a coalition agreement, whether it is pre, whether it is post, it is written, signed properly, and deposited at the registrar of political parties, and the data is there. So what the Speaker, in fact, this idea of saying the Speaker disobeyed court orders, the Speaker just stated that let us now rewind and make a fresh ruling by virtue of what are the numbers now. And the numbers are very clear. Kenya Kwanza have 165, Azimio la Umoja have 154. That is not debatable. So those are facts that are read, and what I'm telling you, so that we finish
before we take a break.
So that we finish the story of Wetangula. You know, Wetangula is the Ford Kenya is a coalition partner in Kenya Kwanza. He has about six or 5 or 7 members. He has about 6 members of Parliament. There are around in ODM, there are around 3 ODM seats that are about to be filled. So if you look at the numbers that Ford Kenya have, they are very instrumental in the stability of the leadership of National Assembly. Okay. So this idea of trying to read too much that Wetangula is under siege and things like that, our Speaker is solid. So
and he will finish his term.
Let us now spare some time for other things. Maybe we can talk about AU.
Wakili, 2 things. And good morning, karibu sana. Ishmael Nyaribo, advocate of the High Court. 2 things. The pronouncement by Wilson Sossion here that any pronouncement by the court, Parliament is not bound by it. What is the process? If at all you disagree with a court pronouncement, isn't it to appeal the same?
It actually hurts us to, you know, as lawyers and as a legal fraternity to hear that the rulings in court can be handled in any other manner so as to satisfy a certain section of Kenyans. That yes, the Speaker can override or ignore the ruling of the court. I will tell you for free, and this is actually the position that the institution given the mandate to handle disputes is the High Court of Kenya, is the judiciary, magistrates, Kadhi's courts, High Court, Court of Appeal, Supreme Court. This is the institution mandated, not with distributing revenue of the country. That is the executive. But in terms of once there's a dispute, and by the way, even when, and I don't want to use this in sarcasm, but even when a case may look like it is hopeless, the place where it is determined is not in Parliament, is not in the executive, is in the judiciary. So if we have to look at the sanctity of institutions, the mandated institution to handle disputes, however flimsy or however plausible, it is the judiciary. And then the rulings coming from the judiciary, by all means, must be respected, one, or number two, they must be fought. And you can fight them in the Court of Appeal, Supreme Court, East African Court of Justice, wherever. But it should go through that methodology to avoid conflicts that, disorder and all that kind of thing. My colleagues here are talking about that there is no question who is a majority or a minority. When I go back to my handles, I said this in 2022 in November, that then Kenya Kwanza were actually plucking unripe fruits when they decided to quickly come together to fill the gap that then was a minority to become a majority. Nobody is disputing these figures. They have said 154 and the other figures. The issue in court was, have you signed post-election agreements, and have you deposited that with the registrar of parties? And the evidence before the court was that no, they had not. So you can't casualize that, because the courts cannot come out of their duty of sitting inside the court and come to hear the evidence outside here in the media, in the streets. They have to go as per what is filed before them. So as far as the majority by the 2022 elections was concerned, Azimio had more numbers. Kenya Kwanza, of course, quickly, and that is characteristic of Kenya Kwanza, and particularly our head of state, being smart enough to know, to figure out how he would lead, he quickly reached out to certain members of parliament, and they agreed to join, especially from, I think, UDM, there were, I don't know how many, so many members from, a coalition like 10 came in, others from this side, others from that side. You cannot rule out the fact that people are bought. You cannot rule out the fact that people who are hungry were, offered some incentives, and they joined Kenya Kwanza. So Kenya Kwanza became an artificial majority, and that is what the High Court is saying. There is nothing wrong if today you want to correct that. You cannot sit put, in Parliament and say, I have made this ruling, the majority is this side, when the evidence available shows that you actually did something to balloon your majority. Kwa hivyo, we should not really casualize what happens in the courts, number one. Number two, the institutions are allowed to, the Speaker has his role, both in standing orders, in the Constitution. We know Parliament what they should do. But you cannot disregard what is being said by the courts, depending, based on the evidence that they have actually, received. So I think Millie Odhiambo is correct. Let me tell you, Fred, power and politics are totally different. Whether you are in a broad-based government, if the ODM side smell that we are likely to do well by going to sit on the majority side, they will give Speaker Wetangula very hard time. And actually, they can actually impeach him. It's not far-fetched.
Allow us to take a break. When we come back, we'll continue this, because I also want Wakili's opinion on the continued stay of Moses Wetangula as leader of Ford Kenya. Let's take a break. You're watching Morning Cafe. We'll be right back.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water?
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can.
And we're back. You're watching Morning Cafe on TV 47 with me, Fred Indimuli. We continue looking at the headlines today. The biggest discussion, of course, is what's happening in Parliament with the debate over majority vis-a-vis minority, as well as the position of Speaker of the National Assembly, Moses Wetangula, who is said to be under siege, according to one of these papers. Dice cast for Wetangula. Speaker Mkaidi, we will send you home, and there will be casualties. Wakili, on the position of Speaker Moses Wetangula, continuing as leader of Ford Kenya, we know that UDA is very clear.
Yes.
They would want Ford Kenya to fold. So this pressure may not just be coming from Azimio.
Sure. But in all fairness, as citizens, as a country, should a speaker be partisan? This is it's a legal question, it's a political question, but it's a normal, ordinary question. Should a speaker or a judge be partisan? The answer is no. When you are an arbiter, when we elevate you to the position of now you are the Speaker of our Parliament, the first thing you must do, and you can see this in Ole Kaparo, in Speaker Marende, you know, the moment you are elevated to the Speaker, you completely sacrifice all your ambitions in terms of becoming a member of Parliament, a political party leader, and in fact, in our laws today, a Speaker cannot be an elected member of Parliament. You relinquish that position, immediately you are elected what? As a Speaker. So now, for Moses Wetangula, it is beyond that because he owns a party and he is refused, you know, to actually let it go. And the pressure from Kenya Kwanza has not succeeded previously. And that's why we are saying that in political power in this country, when you smell that you are likely to step into State House or into the position of a speaker, people will do anything to actually remove, you saw what they did to the former deputy president. It's not that everybody wanted him out, but when people smell that they are likely to occupy certain positions, they will regroup and actually take an action that will be detrimental to the speaker in this case. So it is not right for the speaker to sit there as owner of a party and at the same time as Speaker of the National Assembly. Right. And whether it is Azimio or ODM pushing for his removal, that would be justified.
All right.
But Fred, two things, 2 points come to play here. One, let's be very candid about this. It's not possible for Moses Wetangula to continue being Speaker. It is actually not, it cannot happen anywhere else. I think it cannot happen in Kenya, even in Africa or in the world, because some things don't just make sense. And he has clung into it. Well, maybe hanging to that broad-based thing, you know, like Kenya Kwanza coalition, that was signed then, that for Kenya would get the Speaker. But there's what normally should happen. Now, my point is, from a policy perspective, Fred, when we continue entertaining some irregularities as we move as a nation, we are retrogressing. We are not moving forward. It is bad for history. It's bad for students. It's bad for people who are coming up. Because there is no, you know, that kind of a president, it can only be bad. So that's number one. How it's going to be solved, I don't know. But let him know, let people know that it is not fair for Moses Wetangula to sit there as a leader of a party, literally registered in the political parties anywhere else. That one is wrong, it's illegal. How it goes, but let it be known. Number two, very quickly, Fred, this is a national forum. It's not right for us to come here as leaders and say that court orders don't matter. Now, when you tell that to law students, to the legal fraternity, to the judiciary staff, to teachers, to anybody, where do we go as a nation? If I don't agree with a court ruling in the High Court, I go to Court of Appeal. And I can tell you this again. We are going into very bad drain as a nation, where we don't have respect for law of law, where you don't respect processes and systems and structures. I can tell you, Fred, we are not building a nation. Right. It's gonna, because it can only get worse. Because somebody else will say, if we cannot get justice, if we know that somebody will go and take the law into their hands, then they just say it doesn't matter. That one will not go anywhere. What we know, we are not wishing anybody ill, but I can tell you this. Mheshimiwa can come and tell us, no, there's peace. You know, paradise is okay. But we know. What we saw yesterday was warm-up. By Monday, the whole saga will come to play. A lot of things are going to happen after that. But let's not, please, for record, we cannot go on record to say that court rulings don't matter. As far as we know, as far as Kenyans know, GOtv is a leader of majority, as far as we know. And that's why the system couldn't allow the two of them to go somewhere yesterday, because they are going to keep the broad-based. He is the leader of majority, as far as the Kenyans know.
I'll take you back to that pronouncement about what happens in Parliament and the courts, because you're the one who said that. Yes. Now, on this position of the Speaker's position as Fort Kenya leader and Speaker of the National Assembly, the court also pronounced itself on the matter. This is not about the numbers, as you're saying, they counted and that one is done. But these are different pronouncements. Can that also be ignored simply because he's a Speaker of the National Assembly?
One, we cannot be speculators of doom. We don't want to be meteorologists of doom, saying on Monday there will be this and that. We want to paint bad picture and that there will be some sort of storms or some war. I don't think that is right. We don't come to the show to intimidate the public. We come to the show to tell them facts. And it is also wrong to phrase that I've said court rulings should be ignored. No. I have said some rulings are not enforceable. They cannot be enforced. And if a ruling cannot be enforced, then it dies. It dies. It becomes a defective ruling. That is why sometimes there is room to do what? To appeal. You can actually appeal, or the status quo can still remain. With respect to this ruling on numbers in the National Assembly, and I've said specifically with respect to the jurisdiction of determining the majority in Parliament, it is not within the jurisdiction of the court. It is within the armpits of the Speaker and the standing orders. I think I'm clear about it. I've not said we promote anarchy, so all court rulings we ignore. I think that is that is a blanket. That is a blanket issue. That is a blanket accusation. You did not understand me right. No, yeah. And I think it is important. It's good that you clarify. It's good you have English. It's good you have no. It's good as a teacher. It's good make you understand. Okay. With this one, with respect to the leadership of the House, it is clearly the preserve of the Speaker. And the Speaker cannot rule based on his own thinking. He will rule based on the data from IEBC, based on the data from the Register of Political Parties, and is the leader of the House. Okay. And it is clear. The courts cannot run Parliament. But they have it can. No. On this one, it was an error that has been corrected. As to whether the Speaker of the National Assembly may still be a member of a political party, there is no explicit law that really stops the court has pronounced itself on the matter. Of course, the court has pronounced itself. Again. But that is a matter that is still within the court. Speaker Wetangula can appeal if he so wishes to appeal. But remember... But can he ignore? He may not ignore, and he may ignore. It is up to him. What are you saying? You just clarified and redeemed yourself. Right now, he's already elected Speaker of the National Assembly. Nobody knows him as the leader of Fort Kenya. He is exercising the mandate of the Speaker of the National Assembly. We know that he is very well, and that is it. All these others, this what you call fishing expedition. To try and in the Senate, we have the equivalent. The Speaker of the Senate had to resign as party leader of PAR. Yes. What is so different about Moses Wetangula? That's irregularities.
I think, may I state, you know there is a ruling from the court, and you guys seems to be overreading the judgment. You know there were around either 31 or 34 prayers only 3 prayers were granted. One was that the Speaker's ruling on 29th of September were declared null and void inhibition, which means the Speaker had the mandate to make another ruling. So that was the essence. In terms of in terms of the Speaker being the party leader, there was no declaration that the election was of the Speaker was invalid. It wasn't invalidated. There is that statement that you cannot be a Speaker at the same time you are a party leader. It is it is within the ambit of the Speaker to appeal. And that one was not what was in the floor of the House was the Speaker to re-excuse himself by virtue of that ruling, and the Speaker was very explicit that as a tradition of the House, there is no way he could re-excuse himself.
Isn't that tantamount to ignoring court order?
But in terms of no, the orders of the court, there was no declaration of the Speaker to re-excuse himself. Or you are reading your own things. There wasn't in the judgment. So let us also read the judgment. Word by word. May I finish?
Is that how it works?
No.
Once the court pronounces itself on a matter, isn't that final?
Yeah, you see, Fred, I mean, you know, I wish we understand the impact. I wish we understand the impact of national analysis vis-a-vis your audience. Your audience does not doubt any of the men seated here. They take every single pronouncement from here as the truth, and we cannot misinform the public. I mean, I will also be under a lot of problem if I'm silent and totally unlawful pronouncements are made from where we are seated. The issue here, Fred, is without being political about it, the High Court has found that the pronouncement by the Speaker in September 2022 was unlawful. It is not sustainable because the majority at that time was not what the Speaker said. Number two, the High Court has also found that holding a political party leader position and presenting yourself as a Speaker of the National Assembly is not in harmony with the Constitution, is not in harmony with the Political Parties Act, and is not in harmony with the, the policies. So, first and foremost, even this ruling made yesterday by this Speaker is itself null and void. As far as the High Court has found that he's in office irregularly. He should not be in office and hold the party. So there is nothing difficult for the Speaker to drop from being a party leader and immediately head to the court to review. Until that ruling is reviewed, by the way, Fred, it is standing. It is the law. So if Speaker wants to review it, he will simply file the documents and tell the court, thank you for the ruling you made. However, circumstances have changed since then, and we urge you to review your ruling. Exactly. Now, until that ruling has been reviewed, Speaker Wetangula is in office irregularly. 1 minute, Fred. Fred, 1 minute. And political parties will not allow him to...
You know, you went with my...
You know, I mean, ODM, Azimio, Kalonzo, all these people have their knives sharpened. I told you clearly, there is no permanent friendship. You've read in Jiru's book. These are all cousins, but they know that any slightest moment, they are siblings actually, they will elbow you and take your position. Right. So, Wetangula is in serious siege.
Yes,
I think Wakili has taken a lot of my airtime, just to clarify the obvious. You cannot say the judges were lacking space or the pen or the ink to write that the election of the Speaker, to declare that the election of the Speaker was invalid. There is no such judgment. You read that court case, there is no such judgment. What I want to say is that... What I want to say is that the Speaker interpreted the court ruling, and the court ruling was, it is about the numbers. So one of the Speaker's interpretation was that in terms of determining the majority in parliament, it cannot be static because our political parties act states clearly that there can be pre-election agreement and post-election agreement.
Yeah.
And the nature of interpreting that court ruling, you go to the registrar of political parties, and the registrar of political parties submitted a letter stating that as at now, Kenya Kwanza has 165 and Azimio has 164.
Why was that
Those
not presented in court? And that's the question. Why was that not
You know, I wasn't.
presented in court?
I was in the litigant in court, so I don't know. But the fact is, it cannot be static. And as at now, things are fair. Let now Azimio challenge the figures. And you are saying that you can go to court to go and get interpretation. You cannot go to court to say that 1 + 1 is equals to 2. Every common sense knows that 1 + 1 is equals to 2. So if I tell you, Fred, is 165 greater than 154?
You know, Wakili has told us, whenever there's a dispute, even if we disagree that 1 + 1 is 2 or 1 + 1 is 1,
where do you take it?
Of course, the dispute was who is the majority as at now. Those are facts.
Who is the arbiter on that matter? It must be the court. That's the issue.
But you cannot go to court to determine whether 1 + 1 is equals to 2.
No, we must...
See, Fred, that is where the problem is.
I think that's where we disagree.
That is where
if we cannot agree
Fred, for this nation, Mheshimiwa Session, and you've been in disputes for the longest time when you were in NAT, whatever.
And he has been running to court.
And he has been running to court. Let me tell you, Fred.
But when he gets the figures right, he doesn't go
to told the court.
Just let's clarify. Let us clarify.
Back to the same court.
Just let's clarify, Fred.
No, same court.
Fred, the issue here is when you casualize our democratic institutions, this is where the problems begin, by the way. And even this country, why we have political instability, even to date, we are not giving the head of state ample time to rule the country. We have this, we have that. You know why? It is because of politicians casualizing what is a proper policy and an institutional democracy. And you can see how we are killing our democracy by these kind of pronouncements. Imagining that, how can you take common sense to court? You know, common sense is common to you, but for the other person, he actually thinks this is all his life. So if we can stop casualizing the ruling of the court, and my brother here is saying, the High Court did not declare that the Speaker is not the Speaker. Let me tell you, High Court considers what is before it. High Court cannot litigate on a different matter that is not before it. So, in terms of whether the Speaker will stay or not, that is why you can see the media is saying he's under siege. You can see Mr. Mbai is saying Monday, just wait for Monday. I am very sure, again, people will head to court. But at least what has come from the court must be respected as it is.
All right.
Until you review it.
I want us to move on to a different discussion. Of course, this one we may not all agree on it. But yes, that pronouncement that Monday will be Monday means a lot. A lot is happening between now and Monday.
A lot.
The AUC elections being one of them.
For me, and from analysis, from political science, what we are not allowed to swear with the Bible that this is going to happen. We are allowed to make analysis, right? Number one, I'll tell you this. This is one of the most fundamental, happenings in the history of the recent history, not just in Kenya, in Africa and the world. The world, because the superpowers are involved in this thing. Now, there are some factors that I'm saying. If the presidents of Africa go with them, it goes this way. If they don't agree, one, the issue of the countries that are francophone versus anglophone. That's number one factor. Number two factor, the issue of the Islam countries. That's another factor. Number three factor, the DRC Congo. Now, if anybody has an idea, if any president wakes up and decides from SADC that our president is involved remotely or not in DRC, that's another factor. Number four, this is a secret ballot, Fred. It's not where you are called and then you march forward. It's secret ballot. So all the handshakes could amount to something or nothing because it depends. Now, very importantly, is the fact that Kenya may not be hated, but it may be feared by other countries because of one reason or another. So people may vote or may decide to vote or not vote for Kenyan candidate because of the fear that Kenya is a country, it may go on and much, we are adding more powers already to a country which is already doing very good. But now, very importantly, and this is very serious, is that, Fred, the question is, we are not asking who proposed Raila Odinga for chairmanship. It may not himself. It may not be the president. It may be other powers. We talk about regional, national, and international. There is no way somebody like AU chairman can be there without the interference of the superpowers. I want to propose today that the Americans are involved in these elections. They know who is supposed to go in. And so that's another factor, because they cannot just allow a chairman of AU to just come. So another factor that's hidden in all this, of course they do it very quietly. They could be involved. Some superpowers could be involved in these elections. So those are the factors. And I want to say this. If the African presidents agree that these factors don't matter, it goes positive. If some of them think, and you see some of these things, they just talk slowly, they don't shout. Look at what happened to Amina. We all had hopes she's going to win. But those are the factors, according to international relations and geopolitics, are likely to affect what's going to happen on Saturday. Now, there's something I saw yesterday from Addis, that the commissioners, the council members, and the word that came slightly is that the analysis we picked last night is that quite a number of council members, they won Agrophone, The council members, Eswatini won a seat, South Africa. Well, I doubted how South Africa can win a seat and Eswatini. I mean, it's like a province. Well, that's another story altogether. I don't know whether that will be reflected in the AU chairmanship, where many council members from Agrophone took some seats in the council, the 11, right? Or I think 10 or 11. But all what I'm saying, this thing is big. Those factors will play very well. If African presidents think it doesn't matter, it goes. But I want to add, Kenya has made a lot of concessions for the last 1 year. This is what I mean. Countries that had issues with Kenya, maybe some trade barriers, right? Some tariffs, everything has been signed positively, just to make sure this one works. That's what I would say for now. We are waiting to see. We are not voters. Kenyans have this habit of trying to say like they are going to vote. The people who are going to vote are African presidents. They have their own mind. But what I'm saying is, these are the factors from an international relations perspective strictly that are going to play on Saturday.
Bwana Sossion, I know you say and you insist that we should not be speculative, but on an election of this magnitude, we are allowed to speculate. And I will draw your attention to the cartoon on the Daily Nation, if my director can help me with that as well, where we have three sides of the same gentleman. The Daily Nation, yes. We have, is it the Daily Nation or the Star? The Star. Where we have, is that where we have the three sides of the same person?
No.
Yes, the cartoon.
It's not the Star.
Or the Daily Nation. Yes, this one. Yes, this is a Daily Nation, where we have three caricatures of the same person. One is a fiery politician breathing fire and scaring someone who's hiding behind the wall there. Secondly, as the person in between saying, stand by just in case. And the third is after this gentleman wins the AUC and is seated and very busy working in the AU Secretariat in Addis Ababa. This is what the kind of speculation we're talking about, that this election has a potential of changing everything, even our parliamentary politics as we know it right now, even the workings of the broad-based arrangement.
Politics is very dynamic, and an outcome of any process will definitely have certain implications. There will be decisions thereafter. But I want us to focus on what will happen on Saturday optimistically. Why did we establish Organization of African Unity? To unite the continent and to guide the continent into prosperity. Why do we have AU? AU is a collective organ of the continent, and that organ may not interest other forces outside the continent. So, and when we look at the current mood of Africa and that of African leaders, the aspiration is not about promoting the Anglophone. It is not about promoting the Francophones. It is not about promoting the religious affiliation, the Muslims and Christians. We are all there. And I've been in this space as the president of EI Africa. It comes a time that continental unity becomes the primary focus.
Divisions, Anglophone vis-a-vis Francophone, are so real.
It becomes, yes, it is real. They exist as Francophones and Anglophones, but the calling of a united continent is more important than anything else. And that is why all these different groups, diverse groups, and this is a continent of diversity, are supporting the AU as an organ. And the candidature of Raila Odinga has nothing to do with Anglophones nor Francophones, nor all these religious groups. This is just being hyped to create unnecessary misunderstanding. Africa Vision 2063 agenda is so serious. And remember the BRICS, the development of the BRICS and mooting of the BRICS currency against the dollar. There is some new renaissance to make African continent more economically independent and to promote intra-African trade, to get rid of barriers like boundaries, visas, air travels, and the rest, and network the continent, and of course, promote the value addition and processing of our minerals within the continent. It will make this continent very rich, very strong. There is more to gain in unity, in diversity, whether Anglophone, Francophone, and Lusophone, and Arabic, and whatnot. We are one continent. That is the common denominator. So elections on Saturday is not about division of Africa. It's about uniting Africa. And I think the presidents currently believe that a leader or AU chair commission who has political capacity to move the continent is needed. If you look at the work that has gone into the campaign of Raila Amolo Odinga, it has not only been executed here in Kenya, it has been executed as within the EAC. We saw the heads of states, and the heads of state coming and discussing and approving. That is no simple matter. And we have seen engagements across the continent. And I think Kenya government and Raila Odinga and the campaigning team have been able to reach out to all the groups. Okay. So I don't think it is right here to promote divisions.
But I'm more concerned.
If we are trying to glorify and take some of the little village divisions that exist in some villages here in Kenya, and we want to take them to Addis Ababa and try to
you spoke with a lot of certainty just a few minutes ago about the position of Speaker of the National Assembly.
Yes.
And you said he will definitely finish his 5-year term.
Of course, yeah.
Will you still speak with that kind of, or that level of certainty in case the AUC elections don't go positively, as Bwana Sosion says?
As the leadership of Weta is solid, and he will finish his term.
You stand by that?
You know,
I like where the courage. I like where the Mheshimiwa is getting the courage.
Sometimes, Fred,
eligible for further re-election.
You need to tell these gentlemen, removing a speaker is not a walk in the park. You know, there is a 2/3, leave alone now majority. You don't remove a speaker by majority. You remove through 2/3 of the.
We've seen the impeachment of a deputy president.
So,
it was successful.
I'm telling you, you know, we are run a government that we are not always, we don't want to entertain problems always. So if we continue entertaining problems, when will we work? This year, we have stated that if there is a year as Kenya Kwanza government, we want to work for the people. We don't want to engage in sideshows and drama. And so this idea of trying to read too much, what I want to say is that our broad-based government between ODM, which is part of the Azimio, and Kenya Kwanza is solid. And it is not based on the outcome of Addis Ababa. What we know is that our candidate, Raila Amolo Odinga, has done a lot. And as Kenyans, we are praying for him that he wins. But whichever the outcome, has no political inclination on Monday.
What gives you that level of confidence? The cartoonist seems to suggest something else.
No, you know,
stand by just in case.
You guys, where you go to the news that Wetangula is under siege, and I also know that you also go to these ones. That on Monday we wish Baba to win. That's our wish. But don't read too much in the outcome. If it comes to the negative, on Monday, life will move on. Our broad-based government is beyond Addis Ababa. Is beyond Addis Ababa. So trying to read too much, the only thing I told you is that what our partners were doing, the Azimio, having gotten that court case that was actually supposed to be interpreted, and it was interpreted. No, and let us remove also this notion that the speaker disobeyed the court. The speaker interpreted the ruling of the court, and the facts was 1 + 1 is equal to 2, and it ended there. So what I want to state clearly is that our agreement is solid. Going forward, Raila will support the president in 2027.
Whether or not he wins the AUC.
Whether or not he wins the AUC.
Yet we've heard this other contradictory pronouncements from his same party, ODM, that ODM come 2027, from senior ranking officers of that party, that 2027 they'll have a candidate. What standing do you have as a member of UDA to say that ODM will support you in 2027?
But you see, there is nothing wrong with anybody having taken anything to say anything. So you don't have to read too much. What I'm stating is these are facts.
Wakili, are we reading too much that the results of the AUC election on Saturday will have serious ramifications on our political
I have told Fred, I always tell people, and I will repeat it here, that Association, you need to listen to this. You need to hear this one. That Kenyans are very intelligent people, by the way. You taught Kenyans, and you can attest to this. Where your students are today, they marvel you. You get, oh, even this one went to that one, went to Harvard, is an MIT. So Kenyans are smart by nature. We come to this station and any other station by virtue of a privilege, and that opportunity has given us to actually come and analyze for your viewers. Kenyans know what will happen on Saturday, or at least can figure out what might happen. And Kenyans can imagine, and they have every right. Don't say that that is too much speculation. I mean, we have a right to, I mean, our vibrations, mental vibrations allow us to figure out what might happen. And that's what we are sharing here. Raila Odinga has never reached his destination. Let us be honest with ourselves. He has not. Raila Odinga has not reached his destination. Him going to the AUC, I believe is okay, and is actually plausible. And I think I wish him well personally. I think if he becomes AUC chairman, he will improve the continental issues and affairs, politics, stability, and all that. How it is started is what has been lingering in many Kenyans' mind, especially those who oppose the Kenya Kwanza politics and policies. Because they imagine that he was simply elevated to remove him from a situation, from our circumstances. And that's why you see a lot of Kenyans on media saying, this guy should not go to AUC, he should actually come and fix the country. And that message has been heard very clearly by the voting blocs. And that's why now you saw Francophone countries, non-Francophone countries. Will this play? Muslim nations, Christian nations. Will this have an effect? So we cannot totally sweep that under the carpet. They exist, and that is where there will be voting. So when they vote, I wish Raila Odinga well, so that he becomes the AUC chairman. But if he doesn't, the truth of the matter, and why Kenyans are so involved in fact, many Kenyans are opposing Raila Odinga, not because they do not want him to get that seat, but because they are aware of the dynamics that will take place if he goes away and we are left with one William Ruto alone as the head of state and as head of Kenya Kwanza and all that. So Kenyans feel that, yes, we want to give him away, but we are going to be more lonely to deal with our political issues without Raila Odinga. So whatever happens on Saturday will be good for Raila Odinga. If he goes there, he's fine. If he doesn't go, he will be cool. And as I told you, political power is never given. People go to pick it up. And now there is a small, opportunity from the court. And I can tell you, you saw how Akinamili or Odhiambo are speaking. So they are not going to sit put. They're not going to ignore that privilege, that opportunity to actually grab, power within Parliament, and then rightfully how they will check the president going forward.
Mm-hmm. In summary, Fred, two things are going to happen in summary. One, I just said about my analysis about out there on Saturday. Mm-hmm. Now, if it works, if it doesn't work, Mbunge will tell you there's something called NADCO report, which quietly is kept somewhere.
Come again?
The NADCO report.
NADCO, yes.
Kept somewhere strategically for a time and a day that will be used. Who knows? Maybe the broad-based is working overtime, right? Could be immediately if he loses, it will be spruced up, you know, and the former Prime Minister will be given the Prime Minister position, and maybe Musalia will be told to songea kidogo, you know, and a lot of these are going to happen. So if whether Raila wins or loses, it will change dramatically the politics of Kenya going forward, whether he wins or loses. If he wins, the likes of Babu, you know, the likes of Sifuna, and all the young people who think their lives cannot be tied to the current broad-based government, they will form a serious coalition and tilted towards the opposition. That's what's going to happen for sure. They're just waiting like this. Because again, like he said, you don't wait to be given the baton. Nobody's going to give you. So they will say, Baba, thank you so much. You have done your bit. Now go and serve Africa. You have left us. And Sifuna said categorically before Raila, you told me to continue on this path. That was very telling. So what they will do, they will continue, they will gang up, tell the ministers who went to government, thank you so much, you continue. I mean, you have served governors, you have done everything, you are former ministers anyway. During Kibaki's time, no, you can now go to less and retire. The firebrats will gang, and they will change the ODM party completely. They will get out to opposition and merge with the other like-minded people. That's what's going to happen. If he wins, if he loses, I foresee within a week or two, one night, I mean, they are going to form a Prime Minister position and give it to Raila. Raila cannot be left outside there. He cannot be. He must be kept comfortable, waiting for what will happen. In 27, most likely, Raila has not finished. He has not gotten there. He could decide to be on the ballot. Those are the realities we are going to face on Monday. And of course, everything will start from Parliament. Wow. I can tell you that issue, what you heard Miriam say, what you heard Junet say, and Junet said he sat on that seat and is very warm. I can tell you, from now until that time, we know that Junet is a leader of majority.
Remember their individual careers, political careers as well.
And let us not forget one thing. Sometimes we debate.
What, you want to clarify something?
Yeah, the Speaker made a ruling that Kenya Kwanza is the majority and Kimani Ichung'wah is the majority leader, and my friend is stating otherwise, unless you don't know what
we are going by the
ruling.
Now, we are going by the
now, Fred.
Yes, there's a court pronouncement.
We are going by the court.
Now, Fred.
Okay.
No, sometimes we are debating as if Kenya is a monarchy. Kenya is not a monarchy. Kenya is a democracy, and we conduct elections every 5 years. And anybody eligible to contest any political seat, whether presidential, is eligible and is welcomed at the ballot. So let us not get scared about the ballot. It will be there, and there will be preparations towards the same. Nobody is limited to prepare. We are a democratic country, and you don't take offense when anybody prepares for presidential election. But what is important now is the agenda of the country, and that's what I'm speaking to. And the candidature of Raila Odinga is a business of Kenyans. And then those of us from the background of organizing, we must mobilize the minds of people positively towards the success of Raila Odinga on Saturday.
But you must agree that is an element of fixing our local politics.
No. Let's agree. You don't force. You don't fix politics by forcing. You fix politics through a continuous engagement. It is not an event. It is a process. And I don't want us to predict doom about what will happen after Saturday. The road to Addis Ababa is part of the project of the broad-based government. That's a fact for sure. And not just broad-based government, the entire Kenyans. And if Raila Odinga is the chair, AU is good for Kenyans.
Right.
And let us not imagine that we want to tie Raila Odinga around here so that you can engage in some political conflicts and fights.
Indeed, there's a lot of excitement around his position on the AUC elections.
And if
MPs are joyriding towards the AUC.
And if at all Raila is going to lose AU seat, which many of us don't wish, we want him to win, he is still our own son, a child of Kenya and a leader, and will have space to be part of the leadership of this country.
Definitely. So a lot of excitement around the elections in Addis Ababa. Governors and several members of parliament began flocking to Addis Ababa, Ethiopia yesterday ahead of the AUC elections, in which opposition leader Raila Odinga is among those gunning for the prime position of chairperson. Question is, will this bill be footed by the taxpayer. That's on the front page of the Daily Nation. As we come to the end of our discussions this morning, there's something else that has happened, and it's on all the front pages. And this is what is happening to former Kiambu Governor Ferdinand Waititu. On the front page of the Standard, we have a screaming headline, Fraudsters. After 5 years of a legal defense in a case of former Kiambu Governor Ferdinand Waititu, his wife and 3 others were charged with getting money from a 588 million shilling tender. They've been found guilty. Going by precedents, they will spend a long time in jail or pay fines so hefty that they'll regret getting into the arrangement. This is according to the Standard. But the thing is, Bwana Kiplagat, let me come to you. We've not seen, up until now, any governor or former governor actually get to spend time behind bars for fraud. We've had so many accusations, allegations. We've seen people being hounded in court. Cases rarely get to the conviction stage. This time around, we have a conviction, and they could face up to 10 years in prison. Is this a game changer, if at all we actually get, because of sentencing today, is this a game changer, and should governors be watching this?
I think this is a game changer. This is the second former governor to be convicted on fraud. You know where we are standing as a country. If there is a cancer that has really affected the economy and the growth as a country, is actually corruption. Corruption manifests itself at the various spheres of our country, and there is need to do more. And I think EACC and the office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, they have now at least tried. This one with the sentencing of Waititu, it will send a clear signals to those who are managing the affair, those who are managing our public funds, to be cautious and to make sure that at least corruption is reduced. So from where I'm standing, the conviction of Waititu at least sends clear signal that the EACC and the Office of Director of Public Prosecutions have actually woken up, so that at least they can fix the mess and the cancer that is corruption. So it is the right track to do. Let us hope that all investigations, you see the time it has taken, around 5 years. 5 years is a very long time. So we need to work on the investigative framework to make sure that at least cases can be concluded within the shortest time possible, so that we don't have cases dragging for a very long time, you know. But all that working, at least we now say thumbs up to the 2 convictions that have happened. So let's hope more will come, so that at least we can be able to fix this.
And the other conviction was with regard to Governor for Samburu County, former Governor Moses Kulal. But we saw even that the issue of custodial sentence, we rarely get to see some of these senior former officials at the county level get to spend time behind bars. Even they're given options for fines. And that is probably where the concern comes from, that we rarely see proper punishment, or something that Kenyans would consider punishment.
For Fred, that's just a feeling, and I think it's not a totally correct feeling that we want to see certain people behind bars. That's just a feeling. The law does not really work with how we feel or how our cultural, mood or feelings make us feel or look at things. The courts go as by the law, and this is fair enough for the court. They have said the deal for 588 million, was illegal, was unlawful, and he has to pay quite a huge sum of money on top of that back to the government. Will he pay? Is the issue that we now keep him behind bars. If he appeals, for example, this matter next week, he doesn't have to go behind bars. Then he will, of course, continue with the appeal again while he is outside the cell. So, he will not be incarcerated in a jail. And that is law. It is not because it is Waititu. That is just the law. I mean, if you are convicted, you can appeal. When you appeal again, you go back to the court and say, give me bond, allow me to be doing my normal activities as I fight the appeal, because I have very arguable appeal, and I will be able to probably succeed. And the court looks at possibility of that appeal being arguable, not whether it will succeed or not. So those intricacies is what the public looks at and says, why are these rich people, they have been convicted, then why are they still out
Isn't
here?
it a legitimate feeling? Because we've seen politicians, and I remember a case in point where a sitting member of parliament right now had been convicted and even sentenced to 67 years in jail, or paying a fine of 1 billion shillings. I don't think he did either. But we saw the way the case ended, left a lot of questions unanswered.
Until we change our law, that is the position. I mean, you can see how we are debating about Wetangula's position in the ruling and the High Court. There is what is law and there is what is perception. And I think that one, has to be cleared in other forums. But the truth is the court has made a finding, and the Honorable former Governor Waitito can actually appeal, and once he appeals, he can request that he's not kept behind bars. That happens. Now, what is the implication of this? That's where I'm more concerned, Fred. You didn't ask me that, but I just need to mention something. The pain of Waitito is that all his friends are walking free, all his friends who have stolen have not been convicted, and this is where Kenyans have a bigger concern. When you look at devolved government we created through the Kenya 2010 Constitution, and then you go to the counties and look at what is happening, how people are not being paid, how many pending bills are existing in our counties. And the reason for that is corruption. The reason for that is counties, governors are not ready to make payments as per the procedure of law. Just, you've received flowers from this supplier, pay them. You have received newspapers from that supplier, pay them. And there's money for that, by the way. Instead, people crookedly, sit together and start to create, phony payments that don't exist, are not there. These are the ones you are now seeing Waitito is being accused of, and his family. Many governors actually would face the law if EACC applied the law more fairly across the board, so that Waitito does not feel lonely. He can have his friends, sit together in a jail somewhere.
Yet the concern by many Kenyans, according to the lawyer, of course he'll speak from a legal perspective, but the feeling is that the punishment is not harsh enough for any county official or former county boss when it comes to corruption. They feel that they'll get away with it one way or another.
One, there's and I will say this, Fred, two things. One, there is what the law says. Now, the law, like now, today, the sentencing will give either a fine, not necessarily, and of course, it's not every day that the judge will say, I must, put you behind bars. They'll give you an option of a fine. It is all there. I mean, from all the crimes, Fred, from all the, either whatever you call petty crimes and even these serious crimes, there's that option of fine. So for me, the issue of the punishment has been meted, because also, if they're going to be given quite, so long as it's painful, not necessarily a custodial. But allow me, Fred, to say this. I've been privileged to work in the county governments for 10 years, 5 years as an executive and 5 years in the county assembly. And I can tell you this, Fred, we are moving into a very dangerous ground. The kind of things that sometimes happen in some of the counties, it is so painful in terms of resources. The billions of shillings that go every month to the counties. And then the issues of lack of systems and structures and processes, the respect to. Because, and I've always said this, Fred, when you don't want to put systems and structures, it's because you want to benefit from the lack of them, so that there are so many loopholes. And I'll keep on saying this. It's a high time we have national and work together from Treasury to confirm that there are some systems on procurement, on HR, on financial management systems that work properly. But most importantly, Fred, kindly, I want to appeal to my fellow leaders. Please don't go to look for public office, especially executive power. Executive power in Kenya is exercised in two offices, the president and the governor. That's where the governance is. Please don't do that if you have an intention of just going there to benefit from public money. Please go and look for another business. Go and begin, apply for a license of TIBA or export of clothes from China or America or something. Because it's so painful. Just go there if you want to serve. Because a lot of people, what we have seen, Fred, is that they go there with an intention that I must go because I spent X amount of money, 300 million, 400 million, to win the governor's seat. I must go there and make 5 billion, so that I can prepare for the election. Now, that is the trouble. The problem is the kind of quality of leaders we get, because we must address the bigger problem. Right. This is only one. We have 47, we have former governors, so many of them. We have all these kind of issues. We have to make sure that people go there because you want to serve, period.
any pronouncement by the court today, Bwana Sosion, will have an impact on even the other governors who are serving and former governors. If the punishment meted out on Bwana Waititu is not painful enough, some governors may feel, okay, fine, yeah, I can survive it. Don't you think that that is where the problem is, that up till now, 14 years of devolution, we still have not punished someone painfully enough to act as a deterrent to corruption at the county level?
The judicial infrastructure, insofar as fighting corruption and even the legislation, I don't think has been very strong. And it has come a time that we must punish and criminalize plunder of public resources and corruption by leaders. That must be done. And I want to believe that the findings on Waititu will be executed rightly by the courts and others. If we were to criminalize and punish activities around corruption, rather than talking about, oh, we want to reduce, oh, he has an option of not remaining in jail. That is how we have promoted corruption in this country. We have a very strong and resilient economy. If only we did one thing, vigorously fight corruption and get it off the country and keep our system clean, we would have a good country. For me, I'm one person who believes in punishing anybody involved in corruption without exception and without mercy. So I expect the judiciary to bite. It must bite. The EACC and other arms of investigating corruption, including the DCI and DPP, we should have more culprits of corruption being dealt with. 12 years down the line in devolution, corruption has undermined devolution. People are not feeling the value of devolution because we devolved corruption and we intensified corruption at the devolved units. And that is what we need to fight, not even politics that we are discussing. We need to fight corruption, and Kenyans must get value for their taxes, and we must see a serious transformation of the economy by kicking corruption out of our offices. Okay. And rightly, as has been said, there are provisions in the Constitution against lack of integrity in leadership, matters of good governance, they are in the Constitution. I think we must have very strong laws and a very effective judicial system.
I have exactly a minute each for each one of you for your parting shot. So we start, you want to go first?
No, it's okay. Fred, for me, the question is,
a minute, yeah.
We are here trying to cry like other Kenyans, but the judiciary cannot be blamed because they did the law. So who makes the law? It's our parliament. But you can see what has been happening with all the laws that are stringent on punishing corruption. They die because the people who are making the law, they are thinking tomorrow, I'll make a strong law, I'll be a victim. That is the problem where we are. The people sitting, maybe they are like, we will go look at what has been happening even EACC. Like now there's something that makes, this chairman will have to go, another one comes because this one is too tough on us. The fact is the people who are supposed to make the law, to make corruption so painful and maybe even jail terms or even hanging, they are fearing because they know they are in these business circles and maybe one day I'll be caught up in this. So it goes and it is normally so much watered down, such that it is just very, very weak. Mm-hmm. That is where the problem is, because we cannot come and complain together with other Kenyans. We must say where does the buck stop. And I'm happy the Mheshimiwa is here. Yes. Maybe he can draft a bill that is strong enough.
The issue is with the legislation that the courts can only work
on what is there.
No, I think Kenya has a very good laws to handle corruption. The issue is what I think it's affecting the effectiveness of fighting corruption is the corruption itself in the process of trying to fight corruption. So,
what is corruption?
Kindly clarify.
May I not clarify? I think everybody knows what I mean. So, maybe let's hope it will reduce. But I can tell you, every sphere, every arm of government, there is a bit of corruption. So, trying to sometimes, they say corruption fights back. So, even what Wakili was saying, that, or I don't know who was saying, the kind of sentencing and the, jailing somebody with money in Kenya is very difficult. So let's hope.
You do agree that politicians who are moneyed will never be punished?
No, it's not only politicians
and they never do laws.
But I'm telling you, jailing somebody with money in Kenya is the most difficult.
That's a very serious admission.
That's where the hopelessness and helplessness of Kenyans come.
Maybe I can utilize my 1 minute in something else.
You don't want to talk about corruption.
So, no, I've said what I wanted to say.
Okay.
So what I want to say is that as a country, what happened in Punge, we obeyed the court order and it was interpreted as at now. And what we need to get into our heads is that in the process of making coalitions, there is no static. It is dynamic, day by day. So it depends on what is at the registrar of political parties. Having said that, all the leadership of Kenya Kwanza, all Kenyans, without exception, are praying for Raila Amolo Odinga to win the AU seat. And it will be a privilege to this country. What I want to say is that trying to read too much as to what happens if the reverse happens, there's nothing that will happen. This year, I can see the media and political bandits are predicting there will be a lot of fighting. I think we are done with the politics of Wamunyoro Express and things like that. So this year we want to work. We want to work for the country. We don't want more drama. So whoever is imagining drama around the Speaker of the National Assembly, they need to find other news to do. So we want to work as a country. So let us start fighting in mid of next year.
Okay.
But for now, let us try to work and deliver the Kenya Kwanza agenda. Thank you.
Wakili,
Thank you, Fred. For me, until leaders come together to have sanity at the political space, to obey orders of the court, to respect the institutions, to ensure that there is honest purpose, honest objective to take the country to the next level, where we can fight corruption in honesty, where we can respect each other in honesty, where we use decorum, where we use good language to the youth. Until the leadership does this, until political leaders come to that space, there will always be instability, there will be challenges from the youth, there will be opposition, which is unnecessary if leaders respected themselves, they respected the institutions, respected court orders, and they lived cohesively together as a one Kenya. Okay. Therefore, in terms of AUC, I wish Raila well, definitely. And tomorrow we may not be here, Fred. I wish every citizen happy Valentine. And I think we should all be together as one, as a country.
All right, asante sana. Bwana Sosion, you get your minute.
Yes, my minute I devoted to the candidature of Raila Odinga and Africa, that Saturday we should be able to see a turnaround and take Africa through a highway of transformation and achieve Vision 2063 in a shorter time. But at the domestic level, let us not massage corruption. We must fight decisively. We can't talk about implementing any agenda within an ecosystem of corruption. We must get rid of corruption within our economy, within our political ecosystem, in all institutions, in the judiciary, and within a short time, we will see quick results of the transformative agenda that we undertake.
Thank you so much, Bwana Wilson Sosion.
On that, it was just 1 minute that we are saying Raila Odinga cannot be wished away. Whatever happens on Saturday is going to change the forecast of this country going forward. And the action will start on Monday. Whatever way it goes.
Monday. Hopefully we shall be here. Thank you so much, Dr. Peter Mbai, leadership and governance expert. Mwalimu Wilson Sosion, who has served as a Secretary General of the Kenya National Union of Teachers and also as a former member of the National Assembly. David Kiplagat, who is the MP for Soi, and Wakili Ishmael Nyaribo. Asanteni sana for your very well-considered opinions on this matter. Today being the February 13th, it is World Radio Day. We'll be having that conversation after the break. Director, Media Training and Development at the Media Council of Kenya, Victor Bwire, will be in studio with my colleague, Anno Dida. And a conversation about sexuality thereafter. There's a lot more on Morning Cafe. My name is Fred Indimuli. Good morning.